For the arenas, before the awards.
This is B4 Nashville Live. Have a question for our guest?
Send it to us via Messenger.
Here's your host, George Davis.
Tomorrow to the country fans of today, and it does help when I'm on the screen. But tonight we got a guy that is joining us. He is born and raised in Southeast Texas, and I ran across him on TikTok, and I'm telling you right now, this guy, he keep your ear out. That's all I can say, because this single he's got out is something else. I'm going to introduce you to him coming up here in 30 seconds.
B4 Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your Go-Go Tuner at gogotuners.com. By Heart to Heart Coffee, the coffee that gives back. Find out more at heart2heartcoffee.com. By Sibby's Apparel, worn by heroes, made with respect. Order yours at sibby'sapparel.com. And by Three Rangers Whiskey, not for the weak or faint-hearted. ThreeRangers.com.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me on a Thursday night. And my guest tonight is a guy from Southeast Texas. You're going to learn a lot about him in the next 60 minutes. So kick back, relax, and hang on while we talk to Dalton D'Rich. Dalton, how you doing?
What's going on? I'm doing good. About yourself?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Always a great night when I'm live on the air with all these great people. We've already got some folks coming in and appreciate them, and I'm switching over to comments because I will say, awesome. If you have a question, you have a comment, feel free to make it. And
ask it. Absolutely.
Right. As long as it's not slamming the show or anything like that, then I'll usually put it up. But if it is, I'll throw it out.
And even those, we can answer those. I mean, best of my ability. So
that's right. Well, it's my show. I can do what I want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So, Dalton, let's start off by talking a little bit about you from Southeast Texas. What was it like growing up down there, other than hot?
It was hot, man. It's funny. I enjoyed it. We lived on we lived on Dead End Street, which is Beaumont. So that's kind of south in the Golden Triangle there. Mm-hmm. And I loved it, man. I enjoyed it. We had fun. I had a brother that we used to run around in the woods and all that kind of stuff. So which I'm grateful for it because it rubbed off on me now. And that's what I write a lot of my songs about. Mm-hmm. And then so had there. And then I moved to I'm now currently in the Houston area, South Houston area. And I moved here for moved here in high school for baseball, and then turned out it ended up being for music. So now we're here.
Wow. So growing up, it was just a lot of, like Luke Bryan says, hunting, fishing, and loving every day.
Yeah. And I didn't realize it then. And then, kind of now I'm like, well, I'm glad we grew up that way and did this and that. And now I'm grateful for it.
This question of other artists before, but one of the things that intrigues me is the alignment with country music and baseball.
Yes. I don't know what it is.
What is it?
I don't know what it is either. I've met a bunch of country buddies of mine play baseball. The guy I started, it's funny, the guy I started playing, I used to play acoustic guitar in his band when I first started, baseball player. And we actually met through a mutual coach we had. I don't know what it is, man. I mean, I guess that most baseball games, country music is playing. So maybe it has a little bit to do with that, or just I don't know. It's weird. So I was looking at it, and it's like, I know like Riley Green was a baseball player.
Right.
Bunch of them. I think Luke Bryan played baseball. A bunch of them. I was like, that's kind of neat.
Chris. I started to say Chris Young, not Chris Young. What's the other Chris?
Chris. Chris Jansen, maybe.
No, not Chris Jansen. There's one more. His song was on The Bachelor. Dang it. Him and his wife just had a baby.
Oh, Chris. No, is it Chris Lane?
Yeah.
Chris Lane?
Chris Lane. Yeah.
Make sure I had that right. Yeah.
He played baseball. Brett Young played baseball. He actually got hurt. That's how he got into it.
Yeah. He was a pitcher. I remember seeing that stuff on, but Yeah, because I got some baseball buddies just went to I say just, it was a few months back. They went to Chris Lane's, or no, they went to somebody's wedding, and
Mhm.
Chris Lane's twin, he's got an exact twin,
Yeah,
was there, and they were like, "Oh, that's Chris Lane," and ended up being
yeah.
his twin. They look alike. That's kind of wild, you know.
Yeah, he actually I saw a video where he brought him up on stage the other night to sing, and
Hmm.
I'm telling you, bro's
Dude,
got pipes too.
he sings just as good as Chris does. And if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, I want to say he is his. So Chris Lane's twin is Chris Lane's drummer. I want to say, I don't want to be held to that,
Yeah.
but I think he's his drummer, if I'm not mistaken. So
I can't verify or deny it, so I'll just
yeah, I
go
have
with
no idea. If anybody in the comments knows it, because I can Google it real fast. So
right. So here's a question that popped into my mind. And I'll tell folks, generally I try to send the artist a list of questions just to prep them, but I always warn them I'll chase a rabbit. So I'm going
hey,
to chase a rabbit real quick. If you were a pro ball player, what would your walk-up song be?
oh my goodness, like right now, man. Uh, right now the song I've been jamming, and I've been feeling. It's like that Hardy sold out
Mhm.
song, man. Good gracious.
Oh,
Probably
yes.
have to be that one right now, because
Yeah.
I went and did a little workout earlier, and that was the first one I put on. I'm like, man, that song,
Mhm.
you hear of a country singer playing something that you work out to, it's like that's awesome. So I'd have to go with that song right now, 'cause that kind
I
of gets you
saw
pumped up, ready to jump off, or you know.
Yeah. Just smack one right out over the 460.
Absolutely, yes, sir. So
We are big baseball fans in our household, and we're Cardinal fans.
yeah,
And I hope that doesn't offend you, but
no, no,
we are huge Cardinal fans. If you could see the whole studio, you'd figure it out because I've got like
yeah,
a shelf that's either antique radios or Cardinal bobbleheads and memorabilia and stuff that I've gotten.
yeah, man.
But we were watching a game, and I cannot remember the player or the team, but they were using Jolene by Dolly Parton as his
To walk
walk.
out on. It had to be a rookie or something, because I mean,
Actually, it was kind of the star, one of the stars in the
oh
team.
really?
There's got to
Well,
be a joke. It's got
yeah, he might have been messing around. That's
yeah, there was
or if
something
he,
in there.
yeah. I've heard of baseball players walking out to like opera or like
Yeah,
classical,
yeah,
Beethoven, some kind of music. I'm like, oh god, hey,
yeah.
whatever
Like
floats your boat, man. So
the one team, and again, I can't. I'm so bad. If it's not the Cardinals, I don't remember anything. I'll be honest with you. And one team, they were having a bad losing streak, and so for like the next few games, all of their walk-up songs were Nickelback songs.
oh no, change it up, man.
I
Golly,
love
yeah.
I thought
Eh,
that was great. I just
Dude, I'm
absolutely
telling you, that's one thing in baseball, man. This is like the superstition is
Mhm.
it's so wild. Because I mean,
Yes.
unlike me, like I'd wear the same socks for like I don't
Mhm.
know, a year straight. They'd have holes in them and everything. Same bat and gloves. I'd have
Yeah,
buddies wear the same. I mean, just all kind of just weird superstitions.
yeah.
And doing that, I get that. Like, hey, change it up. I don't know if Nickelback is the answer, but hope to God it was. So
I think they did win, so
they did, yeah. Well, hey, man, you got to do it forever now. So
yeah, yeah, you're locked in, so now, tell me a little bit about growing up, how did you get your music? I mean, what were you introduced to? What kind of music was playing around the house, and how did you get there?
man, so we grew up we grew up real like on the countryside of stuff, because
Mhm.
in Tracy Bird was from Belmont, and like
Right,
Mark Chestnut was from around the surrounding areas, and I forgot the other guys, but like we kind of grew up on them guys. And then when I got to so my dad was in a 1980s hair band, rock and roll, Motley Crue kind of stuff. Yeah, so and that was before my time. I didn't get to see that. I just saw pictures, but we
right.
kind of I grew up on that, and we kind of got out of country for a little while, and we started getting really into like the '80s rock and roll, the Ozzies, all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I got into that. Well, I started doing like guitar lessons when I believe I was in maybe third grade, and then you can imagine the attention span for a third grader. I think I learned the E chord, and that was it the whole time. And then my parents were like, "We're wasting money on that," so it kind of went away. But that's kind of where most of it came from. Was my dad did that, and I took interest in it in a young age, and then kind of I had country and rock, and that's kind of where the sound is now. What I'm creating is like a country kind of rock stuff. So that's kind of where
Right.
it originated and where it all came from.
Right. Do you remember your first performance, like live performance that you
I
did?
do, man. It was a talent show in fifth grade. Me and my elementary school had this like they had a nice big old stage, and it was like the whole school came out, and me and a buddy performed All Star by Smash Mouth, if you remember that song.
Yep.
And
Yep.
old school kind of, yeah, we did that song. Fifth grade, man, I was nervous out of my just shaking everywhere, but we went up there and performed it. And I remember that was the first performance I ever did. I remember sitting there, I was like, dude, I was running around the stage little, and I was like, man, this is kind of neat. And
Mhm.
because I was shy, I grew up extremely shy, and then did it. And then, so that was the first. I was like, oh, it's kind of something I could probably do in the future.
Mhm. Yep. That's
Yeah.
that's pretty good. So, musical influences, let's talk about them for a minute. Who are some of the people that kind of shaped and molded your sound
So,
and
yeah.
and
So,
you as an artist?
yeah. So, like I said, growing up on rock and roll, or the '80s rock and the '90s rock, 2000s, and then
Mhm.
so that had a part. But I knew off the bat. I said, "Well, I ain't going to be you're not going to be a Bon Jovi, rock and roll." Because first off, that was, it was kind of we were in that era of it's kind of moving out of not out of style, but I remember when I was in high school, I heard Dirt Road Anthem, Jason Aldean, and that was when I
Right.
kind of really started getting back in the country, and I was like, because that song kind of started going in the direction of he kind of started changing, country started changing, I guess at that point. And I
Right.
heard that, and I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Man, that's something different." And I
Mhm.
started liking it, and I guess kind of that, then everybody kind of started making songs like that back and forth. You had Jason Aldean, the Chase Rices, and the Blake Shelton started making more of the country rock stuff, and so that kind of started influencing it a bunch. And then it just blew up, and everything started coming out. So
Right.
that era of country was, I guess, is probably one of the main things kind of got me wanting to do country.
Mhm. What about writing? I mean, you write
Hmm.
songs. You're a
Yes, sir.
writer
Absolutely.
a singer. You're a singer-songwriter.
Hmm.
Um, what who influenced that for you and kinda gave you the direction of most of your writing?
Yeah, and that's what you ask a bunch of songwriters, like, man, like, what do you write about? What influences you songwriting? And it's like, man, I remember the first song. Well, when I say in high school, I got back in the country deep, and then out of high school into college, I started getting into it, and it was like I started writing, taking what they were writing about, and I was like, well, man, I live that stuff. We're doing that on the daily, and I guess kind of doing that and hearing that in music that influenced the writing of what I write now. Staying truthful. What we live it. I ain't writing something like that I'm not doing. I
Right.
guess that kind of stuff helps. And living in that livelihood and hearing that kind of stuff, and then you kind of put two to two together, it kind of it makes the songs that I'm putting out today.
Right, right. And I mean, I listened to I think everything, well, as much of everything you had out as I could on my way home
Yes,
this
sir.
afternoon, and I've listened to other stuff, listen to it other times.
Yeah.
And a lot of your stuff is very um um connective. That's not the right word to use, but there, people out there can connect to every
Relate.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, relatability. There you go. Very
Yes,
relatable.
sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, yeah. Well, that was one thing that coming into it. Yeah, I mean, not like I started writing songs before I even started playing out, and I
Hmm.
remember like I'd go to hang out with some buddies, in the woods, or go to a party or this and that, and I'd come home and I'd write a song about it, and it was like we're writing about what happened, writing truth. And I remember there were some times where I would try to create a song that I hadn't experienced, and it wouldn't come out as well as one that I've lived. you know
Right.
and so that's kind of what I latched onto was, well, man, like if I'm gonna write something, I'm gonna write something that I'm doing, that other people like me are doing, that people can relate to. Because the thing about it is, if they can relate to it, we're both doing the same thing. So it's kind of like, we're all relating to the same subject, I guess.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. It's a lot easier to write about, it's kind of the difference between living in the small towns and
Yeah,
writing about walking through Central Park. I mean, if you've never
absolutely.
done it,
Hey,
it's hard
you were
to,
that is
you
100%. Yeah, 'cause I remember trying to write a song about like I was trying to write like a kind of like a Latino vibe kind of song, kind of like
know,
not salsa, but kind of it had that like Latino vibe to it.
right.
And I was like, man, like like I ain't never been to Mexico. I've heard maybe a couple of them songs, a couple of Latina songs, and because I have, I live in Houston now, and there's a bunch of Tejano bands around here, and I've been in the studio with some Tejano bands. I'm like, man, let me try to write a song about it. And it's like, well, I have no business writing about that, because first off, I don't live that livelihood. It's like you can't write about something you don't live. I guess is the
Right.
best way to say it.
Right. I was just bringing up your Spotify as you were talking about that, because I wanted to go back over some of the songs because I can listen to them, but sometimes it's hard for me to remember the titles. But
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you've got some really great songs. I love the new one, and we're going to play that for them here in just a little bit. But
Awesome.
like bumping throwbacks,
Yeah,
you know.
that is my favorite song I think I've probably ever written. And
Hmm.
just in the fact that, like, it's true, but like I bring out a bunch of stuff that kind of growing up, and
Right.
I got to cut that with a buddy in Louisiana, and I was glad I got to cut it because I had no direction of what that song was going to go to. I just kind of wrote it. Was like, hey man, look, let's produce it, and they ended up being my favorite ones. And that's kind of the ones that maybe it ain't doing as well as the other songs. That's the one that when I'm playing out live, I'm like, hey man, I love bumping throwbacks. I got a buddy from Louisiana, Sydney Blend, says,
Right.
man, I love that's his favorite song. I'm like, man, I love it too. I appreciate the recognition. So
Right. Well, and it's the thing I love about that song is like you go from, if I remember right, there's a line in there where you talk about Little John and George Strait all in the same breath.
yeah, it's like because I mean, that's what we grew up on. We grew up listening to rap, and we grew up
Yeah.
listening to George Strait. So it's like we'll put
Right.
put put both of them in there and see if somebody can catch it. So that's kind of neat you
Right.
caught that. So
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of references in there, and I when I listen, I tend to probably listen more than the average person because I
mhm.
search for the meanings of the songs, not
Yes,
necessarily listen to the words. A lot of people, it's just, if I'm intent on the song. Now, if I'm going to work first thing in the morning, my brain is not functioning, so it's just keeping the tire noise from the truck
yeah.
down.
You're just hearing. Then you're just.
Right.
I
But
did the
but on
same
the way
thing.
home, I mean, my day job is and I tell everybody this. I don't know why I say this all the time. I work in radio during the day, and so I'm listening to music all day long. But
Mhm.
in the afternoons, on the way home, in the evenings, then I'm paying more attention because generally that's when I do the listening for like the podcast or
Mhm.
other things that I do related to music. And so because I'm awake and I'm more alert, and I'm doing
Absolutely.
80 down the interstate at that point
Yeah.
because I'm home. But
Yeah, because you're off and you're like, hey man, let me just listen now. I
Mhm.
do the same thing. I've got a job and I do like you said, in the mornings, you wake up, I just want to hear something, hear it. Let me drink my coffee. Let me get there. And then coming home, you start, I guess, productively listening to, what it is, what's going on, what's happening, this and that. And so I understand that completely.
What about your music do you think is unique that makes people want to listen so much?
Well, I know, like I said, the relatable stuff, would be first off, because like I said, me personally, I don't want to listen to something that I, can't relate to in some sort of way. And I know that, like me, I got to the point where, I don't write a whole lot of, Finish Line was my first song I've ever written about, like, or I released about like a relationship or like a woman, and writing
Right.
that, was neat. But like, I usually wrote more of like kind of party songs, kind of,
Right.
bump songs. And that's kind of one that, I got a bunch of people that say, hey man, like, we're drinking, it's a Friday night, there's a fire going on, we're out in the woods, and we're blaring, Sipping in the South, we're blaring bumping throwbacks. And that's kind of something I was like, man, like, that's the reason I wrote it. I want people to, have a good time with the buddies, family, whatever it is. And that's kind of what I think is unique about it, pretty neat. So.
Right. Dive bar certified.
Yeah.
Brother, that is a t-shirt right there. If somebody has not made that yet, I'm telling you, you better get on that, because
hey man, we've got some merch
going to be
people
your
working
money
on
maker.
it. I love that
You
song.
get that one out, I will be ordering that t-shirt.
Hey,
Trust
I'm
me.
going to send you one, man. That's another one of my songs that, like I said, we got this same deal. I got a group of buddies that we got some land in East Texas, and we'll go up there and we'll just party, little bitty dive bars. What's the thing about it is, the reason I wrote that song, because I used to, starting in music, that's what I would do. I would beat them dive bars as much as I could, 4 times a week. 200 plus shows a year was in a dive bar somewhere. There's 2 people listening, and I thought, and somebody was talking about, like, they said something like, man, you're like the dive bar king or this and that. And then I was like, well, we're dive bar certified. And I was like, oh, that's a song. let's put that down. Let me write it down real fast. So that's kind of like and that fits kind of fits in a Texas country kind of genre a little bit, because that fits right in here with what's going on in Texas. And that's one of the songs people are like, hey man, I like that song. It gets brought up every now and then. So I enjoy that song.
I gotta say, all of your songs now, and I will say it this way, and I'm not trying to offend you when I say this, but when you look at the titles of the songs, I'm just going to run through them: Sipping in the South, Finish Line, Bumping Throwbacks, Dive Bar Certified, Hick Proud. I'm sorry. When you look at those, I mean, they've got t-shirts written all over them.
Oh yeah.
I would run around with a t-shirt that had, I'm Hick Proud or I'm Dive Bar certified, and then have your name plastered across the back. And I would not worry about what anybody said. I mean, because those fit the lifestyle so well that, Sipping in the South, I mean, you can wear that to a concert, and, even if it's of another artist, and they ask you, what is that? Well, this is, Dalton D'Rich. You check him out,
Yeah. No, and I get that, man. I get that a bunch about, like, hey, just, I try to make like some shirts, merchandise in each one of the songs. And like, man, we're gonna keep pumping songs out. We're gonna have 1,000 shirts, 1,000 different shirts, and we're gonna have a backup of merch for 10 plus years, whatever this and that. But that's the thing. That's the main thing when writing a song, I try to pick the words that are gonna be like, hey, this is going to stick out, or this is going to be a saying or a shirt, like you said, so that's one of the main things, when writing a song. Cause Dive Bar Certified, I was going to actually name that Howling at the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was kind of searching around. I said, well, man, there's 1,000 Howling at the Moons. I think Hank Williams had a song called Howling at the Moon. Either Hank Williams did that or co. And I was like, man, let's try to find something different. And I mentioned Dive Bar Certified a couple of times in the song. So what's his name? Dive Bar Certified. And we did that. And they were like, oh, that needs to be a shirt. That needs to be this and that. And I was like, well, it's stuck. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was sitting here looking through we got a lot of comments coming in.
yeah, I see
Tate
Tate.
Wood says Backwoods Empire.
Yeah,
I
see
love that.
Tate. I see Meredith and
Yeah.
back Tate's actually my sister's boyfriend. I think they're
Okay.
listening down the road in Houston. So I'll be over there in a
All
little
right.
bit, Tate. So no,
Yeah.
yeah, Backwoods Empire. Now that he said that, that's the next single coming out,
Yep.
and that's coming up here soon. So that's another saying of a we can put on a shirt. So
Right. I started to say if that's not a song yet, that's a great
yeah,
title.
that's the
Empire.
next song coming out here in a couple months or a month or so. So
Yeah, you could have a kind of like a politician sounding voice to kick that off.
yeah, that's what we need. That's I love it, man. God.
My buddy Radius, he's a great guy. He says we're at from Southeast Texas. So where exactly?
So Beaumont
Okay.
down there, and then I lived in Beaumont, and we had the place that I go to, the escape place is in Warren, Texas, which is by Woodville and
Mm-hmm.
Lufkin, because nobody knows where Warren's at. They just know Lufkin and Woodville. So
Yeah. Yep. We've got some friends down in that area, and I can't remember exactly where they're from. But we tease Chad. He's it's a couple, him and his wife, and we tease Chad all the time because he could pass as Cody Johnson's freaking double.
yeah. Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's a little bit slimmer than Cody Johnson, but from a distance they look like they could be brothers.
That's kind of awesome, man.
So yeah,
Oh,
Radius says he's
Orange.
got
Yeah.
family there, and his mom's
I
from Orange.
I've been to Orange many times. I got friends in Orange. I'm pretty sure I got kinfolk in Orange somewhere
Mhm.
if I look down the line. So
So, so as a songwriter, this is one of my favorite questions to ask. What is the one song that you have thought to yourself, damn, why did I not write that song?
yeah. So I got a couple of them. Well, the one when I first heard it come out, I was like, oh, because I'd actually like wrote a couple songs with some of these words in it. God's Country, the Blake
Uh-huh.
Shelton,
Yep.
which was written by Hardy. And
Right.
dude, when I heard that song at first, I was like, oh my gosh, man, this song here. I mean, he nailed it, because I was
Yep.
listening to some of the words and I was like, man, that details he put in those words. I was like, dude, that's 100%, because I had a few of those lines, written in some of my
Mhm.
songs. I was like, man, he managed to put it all together, and just, where you like, you're hearing it, you're like, oh, like, holy
Right.
cow, that's true. That's wild. I've done that, done this. So God's Country, and then I guess the Rednecker that Hardy as well. I mean,
Oh yeah.
just hearing that song, because I mean, Hardy's a phenomenal songwriter, man. And
Yeah.
hearing
Michael
those
is
two, I was like,
one of the best songwriters. Oh my gosh, man.
oh yeah, there ain't nobody. I mean, because when he started coming out, I was like, God, dude, this guy can write, and
Mhm.
I love his words, because he expresses them in a different way than nobody else would actually express, what it is. So
Right. Right. Rednecker. I mean, to me, that song is so recognizable. As soon as that opening riff starts, it's like,
yes, you're like, oh,
yeah,
there it is. Let me
yep.
listen to the rest of it now. So
First note, I'm cranking up the radio, man.
yeah, I gotta listen to the rest. So
Yep. So if you could go on tour with any two bands or artists, either
Mhm.
way, who would they be?
Dude, I'd love to go on tour with Kid Rock, 100%.
Mhm.
And oh man, and the other one, I had to. Ooh, and I was thinking about this, possibly like, and it don't make any sense, like Metallica.
Uh-huh.
Maybe Metallica. I mean, I know I'd have to get some heavier songs, but that'd be cool just to see. Kid Rock, first off, because he's kind of in the same, kind of the same genre, I guess, that, I'm doing. And then Metallica, just because I'd want to see them play. I don't want to see that music created on stage and just jam, because they're still getting it after however many years they've been doing it. So.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Zach Brown Band does Metallica in their live
They
shows.
do, man. He did. I forgot. I saw it the other day live. I was like, wow, he nailed it, man. And they play well. Zach Brown plays well. So.
Oh, he's got great instrumentalists.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah.
No, those guys. I've seen them live twice, and I'm just like, oh, man,
blown away.
Yeah, when he put Southern Ground Recording Studios up for sale in Nashville, I was praying I won the lottery.
You get it, yeah.
Because I'd have bought that thing in a heartbeat, man.
Oh, dude, man.
I don't know a thing about recording, but I'd have bought that thing.
I'd have bought it just to have it. Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
I mean, if I could afford it, I'd be able to afford somebody to run the thing. But man, it is such a man. I haven't toured the inside, but I saw the outside several times, going down the Music Row, and I'm just like, man.
Yeah. See, I passed by what is that other one over there? It's Blackbird, I think is what
Blackbird,
it is.
Martina McBride.
Yeah. Martina McBride's, yes. Is Southern Grounds over by Blackbird? Is it
they're pretty close.
I'm gonna say they're probably fairly close. And
Southern Grounds, like right there. I don't remember if it's 17th.
Yeah.
It's like you're coming off the roundabout almost, and as you turn, it's right there in the curve. And then Blackbird, I think, is just a couple.
Right. Yeah, that's right in the same place. Oh man, yeah. I had the last time I was in Nashville. Wow, we cut sipping in the South, and this lady, they call her Mama Sue, was kind of taking us around, showing us, and we passed by Blackbird, and we were passing by like this big old arched building that said that this is where the Nashville sound came from, why it's so different than everybody else's. And I was like, man, this is awesome. It's wild. The history down there is just insane. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. It is crazy. Drew says that he'd see you tour with Aaron Lewis. That would be a good show.
I'd love that. That would be a good show. I would I'd jump on that. I'd jump on that.
Yeah.
Cool,
we got people saying Upchurch, Chase Matthews. I like Chase Matthews, that County Line song he's got out, man. That thing is killer. Brady just wanted to know if you'd ever played the Golden Nugget in Lake Charles.
I have. All right. I did that a couple, I want to say maybe probably a few months ago. Went down there and played it, and played that there was a little, like some little bar in the middle of like the casino there. And it was like I want to say it was like either a Tuesday or Thursday night, and that was one of the wildest shows I think I've ever played, because I didn't know that was one of the first times I played in a casino, and I was like, man, it's packed on Thursday night. People were getting rowdy as hell, running around, stage is packed, so it was neat. But that was actually an awesome show. That was fun. I need to go back, because I want to do it again now. So Spivey.
So are you more into playing, say, the dive bars, or do you like kind of like the bigger venues?
So I love bigger venues now, because but like, man, like, so the roots are in the dive bars, because I guess that's where I started. That's where I've made most of the friends, running around in dive bars, and I still enjoy it. I told myself, if I could, I know Garth Brooks did a dive bar tour. I said, man, if I could ever get to that status, I'd go back to all the little dive bars I played at and just make a tour of all of them. Sell them out, because they ain't gonna hold but 100 people at max. Sell them out and just do it all again. So, and I love dive bars. I love playing at them, still, because they're fun. But it's kind of 50-50, I guess.
Right. Well, if you did something like that, your dive bar certified T-shirt, you'd probably have to have 300 for every 100 people.
They'd sell out quick. You ain't lying.
That's right. So before I've got some other questions I want to ask you. I actually worked on some new questions today because I did send Dalton the questions, but I've got some new ones that I worked on today, and quite a few of them. So I want to just pick his brain on some of those. But before we do that, now we're going to play Finish Line, which is the newest single, and then we're going to come back and talk about it for just a little bit.
Perfect.
Okay. And so we're going to do that. We'll come back with that in about 30 seconds. So y'all stick around, okay?
Before Nashville is proudly sponsored by Go-Go Tuners, the go-to tuner for professional and amateur musicians. Get your Go-Go Tuner.
Body across the finish line, finish line. You and I cross the finish line. You and I.
All right, Dalton D'Rich, and that was Finish Line. Man, I'm telling you, dude, I love that song. That is,
Oh, man, I appreciate that. I
a great
appreciate
song.
that.
Tell me a little bit about it. I mean, other than the fact of you are obviously a huge NASCAR fan.
Yeah, man. So I had that so I wrote that song with a couple guys named Kobe Gray and Jimmy Nash out of Nashville, and
Uh-huh.
I was approached by a buddy of mine that he had an idea. Kobe had an idea, and he was like, "Man, got a song called Finish Line." And he had to kind of hook, and remember one day we like zoomed each other and wrote the song, and I was like, "Dude, this is didn't know how it was gonna be." Because I had never written like I said, never written like kind of a slow song like that. And we watched NASCAR a bunch, watched Daytona 500, the Talladega, and all that. And I said, well, man, this could go well. It's weird because you think about a NASCAR song, you think it'd be like a pumped up kind of
Right.
stuff blowing up. And we're like, nah, we just wrote a NASCAR love song. And so came out, and I went to a studio here in Houston, Stormy Media Studio, and kind of started just piecing it together, and I had no idea what route we were going to go with it. So I only we had an acoustic vocals, and that was it. Went in there and I started building it, cut it, came back and kind of redid some vocals because they weren't how the vibe wasn't right, and then it came out, and I was like, well, we'll see what happens with it, and released it, and then we shot a music video for it, and it ended up being like that's my baby now. That's when everybody was like, oh man, it's doing well on TikTok, it's doing well on Spotify so far, it's doing well on the YouTube. I'm like, well, man, heck, that's my child right now. So and that's the one I most enjoy kind of playing live and listening to. And all people stop me like, hey man, I love your NASCAR song. This is my go-to race day song. I got go-kart riders coming up going like, hey man, I love that song. I'm jamming it. I'm like, well, hey, that's awesome, man. So NASCAR love song making it on the race day playlist. It's pretty neat. So
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. I've got a friend that actually works for Stewart Hoff Racing. I'm gonna send her that song.
Yeah, there you go.
With your permission.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. 100%.
I'm gonna send her that. She's an artist too out of Nashville, and
oh, cool.
She's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about touring and stuff. I mean, do you how many shows a year do you play?
And it varies. Like I said, I did I went just trying to play a couple years ago when I first started playing every chance I could possibly get, whether it was, whatever it was. And then I got with a booking guy who would book me these, acoustic shows, full band shows. And then I realized, you got to keep making the steps, and then made a step to where I started doing a bunch of opening shows at a few, like where national acts come around Houston. I got a couple of booking guys that put me in the opening places, and then kept doing that. Well, then I met last year opened for a guy, buddy of mine, very good friend of mine, Justin Champagne out of Louisiana. Yeah. And he's doing giant things, and I'm grateful because he'll if he's headlining a show, he'll call me, and I get to open for him every once in a while. And now and again, we had a show in Alabama. I think that was last month, and we did Alabama and a bunch of places in Louisiana, Texas. And so now I'm doing that and booking some shows, on my own, and just trying to fill the back half of the date. So I'm playing here and there and just trying to keep the steps, playing, I guess bigger shows, to where more eyes, make, network out and this and that. So
are you more comfortable playing the dive bars, or what's a perfect crowd size for you?
Man, I had, I tell you, we had, so Justin did a hometown throwdown, he's from New Iberia, did a hometown throwdown in his own hometown. And man, that crowd, I think he sold the place out. It was like this little bit, it wasn't little, it sold like, man, I don't want to say he had over 1,000 plus, people, because it was an auditorium. He kind of sold out, and it's kind of that crowd, because they knew they knew the songs. They were singing "Sipping in the South," and they were singing and songs. I was like, oh, man, this is wild, and it was packed. So I'm comfortable. And then I opened for the Lax here in Houston. They had a pretty
Right.
a decent crowd, and just
Yeah.
kind of I'm comfortable in front of anything. But I tell you right now, my hardest shows to play is when there was like 3 people, because
Right.
I'm like, oh gosh, because they're honed in to where it's like, hey, you just, it's weird because
Right.
I'm more comfortable playing in front of bigger crowds than I am smaller ones, which is strange.
Right.
So
Well, it's like the bigger crowds are more forgiving than the small ones. I mean,
yeah.
you have a day where you might forget words, and
Hmm.
we've got a good friend in
Everybody does.
Nashville, and every time we've seen her, she's forgotten words, but she's great at
Yeah.
covering. And she covers it with stuff you wouldn't even think of. I mean, she's just really good at it.
Oh yeah.
Um, but you have those days, but when you're up on stage, a lot of times, say people know Finish Line or they know Sipping in the South,
Hmm.
and you forget the words, they pick it up,
They pick it up. Yeah.
and you just
That
blow it
or
off like, hey, this
and
is the sing along portion of the show,
yeah. Yeah. And like the band that I have that I roll with, my guys, they my the bass player and the lead guitar, or the lead guitars I have, he kind of, we'll rehearse it to where like, hey man, he'll sing the back half of some verses, that way. I mean,
Mhm.
not if you mess up, but if I'm running around or just
Right.
jump off of something, he'll catch the back half, he gets it, so but that's the thing about like the big crowds, they're more forgiving, and then but little crowd, it's a lot more intimate, because like usually
Mhm.
the little crowds it's going to be an acoustic show, or an
Right.
acoustic with a cajon, me and like a little cajon drummer, and it's real, just one-on-one. So you're like, well, you're on the spotlight now, you can't
Right.
if you mess up, you're like, hey man, sing back to me. They're like, hey man, you messed up, and that's what I have messed up, like in intimate acoustic shows, where like if for some reason I might sing the first verse twice or something like
Right.
that. And I mean, they're not going to know it, but then I'll go back after like, hey, look, I messed that up, I
Mhm.
apologize. And most of the time, I'm like, hey, we don't care, we're having a good time. So
Right. Well, the small crowd, in a big crowd, when you mess up and you messed up, you can always grab the mic and hold it out,
absolutely, you just hold it out like, hey man, sing back, or like,
too
yeah,
long,
yeah,
Garth Brooks forgets the names to,
oh yeah.
friends in low places every night. That's why he
Oh,
does that.
dude, yeah, yeah, absolutely. He does that on purpose. So,
Exactly. He forgets the words to the song. I mean, come on.
yeah,
If I ever interview him, that's a question I'm going to ask him.
yeah. So, do you
Have
do
you
that on
ever
purpose,
forgotten the
man?
words to friends in low places and you just grabbed the mic and held it out because everybody knows it?
Oh, 100%. They're singing that whole song back to him the whole time. So,
Absolutely. So here's a hypothetical for you. You're leaving for tour in the morning. What essential items are you going to pack? What do you have to have when you go on a tour?
my boots. That's one. I got one pair
Hmm.
of boots that I've been that I wear every time. Um, cut off shirts. That's that is one thing. And then, oh man, ain't a whole lot, man. I usually pack real light, which is strange. And I guess it'd be boots, it'd be your shirts. Um, I make sure I have some dip somewhere laying around. That's why I take my trips to Louisiana to get my snuff, and then
Right.
have that. And that's honestly about it. And I guess the guitar and instruments. So I tell you a funny story off of that. I used to have a monkey, a little, like, it was it wasn't porcelain, it was this little monkey thing, and
Hmm.
I called it our mascot, and it would go everywhere. I would take that thing and forget the boots or something like that, and it started getting like little names where I almost made an Instagram page for it. It was getting like, they were like, oh man, I'm going to see Dalton, I want to see the monkey, and because it had a cigarette we put in its mouth, And
Uh-huh.
when I started the show, I'd light the cigarette, and of course, he ain't smoking it, so it would just burn the whole night. It was kind of neat. People take pictures with it and stuff. And then one day we put it on our subwoofer to play. And as you can know, it started rattling. And in the middle of a show, I know one of your questions was like the most embarrassing things.
Right.
We were sitting there playing in concrete ground, and it started rattling, and it rattled him off, and like he shattered all over the floor.
Oh, no.
And it blew up, and I was like, oh, that was it. So we actually buried him up in our land up in Warren. So so he's sitting up there.
Your fans were disappointed. The monkey was gone.
Monkey's gone, man. And my sister got it for me. She goes to school at Texas A&M, and she got it at like a flea market down. They had that big giant flea market at College Station. She got it, and since COVID hit, they won't open the flea market back up. I think they're still working on it. And I was like, man, as soon as it opens back up, you got to give me another monkey as ASAP. So I'm waiting for it. Maybe one day we'll have another one. So, but we'll see.
That's awesome, man. So Dakota says Bob and Shaka are essential.
That's a sister there. She Bob is the cat and Chaka's the dog. So yeah. So
Gotta take them
I
with
guess
you.
they are a little I guess they are a little bit essential.
I have to shut my door because we have cats and we have a little corgi and another dog. And usually I call them my producers when they come in.
Oh yeah, they'll start. we have. I must say we actually have the cat locked up now because he'll run around and he'll jump on the screen or something like that and just meow the whole time. So I get that.
That's the way my boy cat is. He's my buddy, and he'll come in and jump up on the cabinet or up on the desk.
Press buttons and everything.
It's just me and him. Yeah, he starts walking on the keyboard, and I'm like, Lou, quit.
Yeah. I get that 100%. 100%.
And then Justin says your hats. You're always wearing hats. You got to pack the hats.
Absolutely. Yeah, hats are essential as well. I love my hats. I try to get the unique hats and kind of wear different hats each time. I love hats. I don't know what it is, because I try to get my hair. I think I've worn my hair down without a hat one time on a show, and like it got caught in everything, and I was like, it got caught in the guitar string and I was like, that's the last time. And I got to wear a hat and keep it back because it gets rowdy. So
oh yeah. So now I've been, like I said, I found you through social media, and you had a clip of Finish Line, and I'm like, man, this is just too good. So, and as an artist nowadays, you have to have that social media because
that is one thing. That was one thing that's almost a job on its own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was in the studio Monday with a couple guys, and they with some studio musicians, and they're touring studio musicians. They're like, man, I hate social media. I was like, I get it, because you got to keep up with it, but that's one thing, and you got to have. And I get getting wrapped around it would drive me nuts. It drives me nuts sometimes. You just kind of got to have fun with it and stay away from the bad and love the good. So
right. What do you feel like is the biggest challenge of using social media to promote your music and grow your fan base? Or what's the biggest challenge you've had doing that?
Yeah, just just kind of getting it out, or making sure it's at the right time. I mean, that's kind of one of the big things, because like you might post something and it'll ding 1,000 views like that, or you might post something and it gets like 10. You're like, well, let me rethink that. So this timing, was my main thing, and because I love the interaction. When people comment, I love commenting back. I try to get to every one of them that I can. And but I think the main thing is just time and getting it out at the right time.
Right. Absolutely, man. I mean, it is tough. I mean, I have to do that through this. What's the quickest way? Here's a question I'm asking kind of for me, but for a lot of people that may, deal with social media on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
What's the fastest way that you found to grow your fan base with social media?
Man, so I've done a few things. It's like, playing live helps tremendously. That's probably in which that's, not on social media, but I realize, like, you go out and play, like opening for people or playing live and connecting, you're going to get a bunch of, if they have social media, you're going to obviously, they'll follow you, you follow them, this and that. But I'll run, and that's kind of what, I was talking to a few musician buddies of mine, and what you got to do today is you've got to, save a budget back to run ads, and that's just what the world is today. To try to, like I said, if you don't have 100,000 plus followers, you've got to figure out a way to get your stuff to other people, because like you said, you ain't gonna post something and 25,000 people see it. So what I've been doing is like Finish Line, when it came out on Instagram, I kind of let it run for a little bit, and then you'll run an ad, throw some money at it, and that helps a bunch. That's kind of, I've got some fans that I've met from across the country that are my very good friends from that. So, hey man, look, I was scrolling through Instagram, saw your ad, loved the song, and I was like, man, awesome. So that helps a bunch. And obviously don't go broke over it.
Right.
Little money, if you got a good post, and if you got a good post, you can throw a little money at it and make it do more,
Right. Let's go back to songwriting for just a second, because this is one of the newer questions I have, and it's one that intrigues me. If you could collaborate with any current artist, who would you want to collaborate with?
Yes. So obviously Hardy, that's one. Upchurch, I've always loved Upchurch's stuff,
Yep.
and I'd love to collaborate with him, and man, probably them too. Luke Combs, Brantley Gilbert, Jelly Roll. I'd love to just kind of get with them, pick their brains, the Co-Wetzels. Those kind of guys, and just because they seem like we're they seem like my kind of people,
Right.
in some sort of ways. So
now, being from Texas, and Texas, honestly, the music in Texas is its own thing. It's like separate from Nashville by
100%.
far.
Yes, sir.
Who are some of the Texas artists that you really admire?
Cody Johnson, first. He's, like you said, he started. I saw Cody Johnson play in a little dive bar in college, and I was like, wow, this guy's good. Look at him now. Co-Wetzel, Whiskey Myers, Colby Cooper's doing big things now.
Yeah.
But those kind of guys, like I said, because I saw Co-Wetzel play an open mic for free. I went to the same college he did, and I saw him play. So those kind of guys, and like I said, Texas country it's its own animal,
Right.
And them fans it's cool because they're diehard fans, and I love it because being from Texas, you admire all parts of that. So those kind of guys, because I've seen, I guess Parker McCollum as well. He's doing giant things, and like Granger Smith. So and those kind of guys, that'd be cool to get. And I've met a couple of them here and there, and I talk a little bit of them. But those guys are doing it and shaking and moving with it. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm going to get my first opportunity to see Co-Wetzel live in August, and I can't wait.
Oh man, yeah, we were on. I'm working with the entertainment company, and we kind of helping with them because I met them through Justin Champagne, and we were with Co-Wetzel a couple of weeks ago in Fort Worth and in Houston, and helping him do the meet and greets and kind of collab, helping with the entertainment company. And dude, his show now, it's gonna you'll be mind blown when you walk out because
Yeah.
the production that he has now, it's just so. First off, he's a tremendous singer,
Right. Oh,
and
yes.
I don't get it. So he'll finish a fifth of Jack Daniels and still go out there and sing the whole thing. I'm like, man, but no, I mean, and his band is phenomenal. The production, lights, he got stuff blowing up, stuff on fire, fireworks going off. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So it's awesome.
I'm excited. This will be at a
Mhm.
rodeo too, so I'm really excited about
Oh
that.
yeah, man, that's gonna be
I,
great.
I love it. Talking to you, you mentioned about Cole and finishing off a bottle of Jack Daniels and then going to do a show. What's your
Yeah,
go-to drink when you're on stage?
Miller Lite is what it is. Yep, and because I drank whiskey playing one time. I was doing a song swap with a buddy, and he was an older gentleman, and he could drink. And he was like, "Man, let's get a shot." And I was like, "All right." And they were bringing it up there, and people were bringing the shots, and we started hitting liquor, and I was like, "Whoo!" I was like, "Hold on," you know. You started getting warm, and I was like, "Man, I hope I sound good. I hope it sounds good." But now I stick to beer going up there, and
Mhm.
I'm a big Miller Lite fan, and I'm drinking. I was just drinking Bud Light earlier, but because it's cheap. But Miller Lite beer, because like you say, you can't with beer you get what you get. With liquor, there's no telling.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's a
Mhm.
lot of bad decisions made drinking liquor.
There's a whole lot of bad decisions made drinking. And but yeah, that and I've been tossed. I had somebody toss me some moonshine on stage one time, and I hit that once, and I was like, oh, that's the last time. That's the last time I put it down, and I just kind of raised it up, like, hey man, you know what? But that's one thing. You hit liquor after you play. During it, I stick to beer, and we take a couple
Right.
shots of whiskey before just to kind of get the edge off, get a little bit loose. But like I said, finishing a bottle or doing that, man, that's something that's tough.
That's when you know you're a pro.
That's when it. Yeah, 100%.
So, what time of the day do you feel like you're most creative?
Late at night, past like I'll say like 2, 3 a.m. Man, I don't know what it is. Just the juices start flowing. I've written all of my songs after 2 a.m., which is weird. Cause
Yeah.
yeah, because most guys like, man, I wake up at 6 a.m. and I start writing, and I'm like, man, 6 a.m. That's the last thing I'm thinking about is writing a song at 6 a.m. in the morning. But most of the time it's been like 2, 3 o'clock, and it's weird because I don't know what it is. You kind of get in that vibe and just start writing, and then you come out with stuff you never thought you would have written before.
Mhm. So, what venue or what festival would you say would be your dream gig to play?
Ooh, let me think about that. Um, Man, I love I love all the stuff they do. I know what it is. The dream gig would be. You ever been to the it's the Wharf in Alabama,
Huh.
in Gulf Shores? It's a big amphitheater. It's like right there on in like by Orange Beach and Gulf Shores right there. And I went and walked. We vacationed there, and it was kind of like walking down. And I think Full of Georgia Line played there like the night after we were there. And I was there by myself because it was like a Wednesday, afternoon, and I walked out and I was like, dude, this would be wild because the beach is
Wow.
behind you and you're seeing this and that, and you're walking through like a swamp to get there. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
this would be the dream place. So
Yep. Yep. I tell you, and just sitting here listening to you and listening to your music and thinking about that question earlier, I could see you. There is a festival in Oklahoma. It's at a bar called Tumbleweeds,
yeah, I know
and
tumbleweeds.
they do the calf fry.
Cat, I've heard of cat fry. Yeah,
I
I'd
could see
love the
you
cat fry.
doing that one.
I can see that. Yeah, I'd love
Yep.
that one. I got a couple buddies that played in cat fry. That'd be
Yeah.
another good one, man. I love festivals. I love
Mhm.
music festivals. Those are always fun. Getting to share the stage with a bunch of different artists, and getting the huge sound, the outdoor stuff, getting to hang out before and hang out after. Those are always fun. I'm a big fan of music festivals.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun. I
Oh
love
yeah.
going to them, and I even work with a group that produces a festival every year, and so we'll put your name on the go-to list.
Oh man, yeah, absolutely. I'd be there in a flash.
And so, speaking of festivals, if you could produce a festival, say a 3-day festival, you're going to have a headliner each night. What 3 artists would you get to headline that festival?
So I think I'd go towards more of it'd be a country festival, kind of country rockish.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, ooh, um, Brantley Gilbert. I'd say, I know Whiskey Myers would probably do good, and then for the third one, man, maybe like a Luke Combs or an
Mm-hmm.
Aldine or somebody like that, or we could even go old school and go, oh man, like a Alan Jackson or a Garth.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
one. I do it like that because that'd be 3 big time guys coming up on 3 huge days.
right. Best part about that, you make a ton of money.
You'd make a ton of money, man. You'd make a
You'd spend a
yeah,
ton, but you'd make a ton.
yeah. You'd spend. Hoping you get a little bit in the green, good gracious, or at
Yeah,
least break even. So
exactly, exactly. So let me look just back over here. One last question, and this
mhm.
is a pretty good one too. If you could go back in time and change anything about your music career, what would it be?
Man, I'd probably say stay more truthful in the beginning and stay patient.
Mhm.
One big thing. I know when I first started, I was like, man, I want to sign a label, or I want to be this and that, and I want a million views on Spotify and this. But it was like that takes a bunch. That takes a bunch of work and takes patience, and I know I would just drive myself nuts sometimes, being like, why ain't this doing that, or why ain't we making it, or why ain't stuff getting heard? And then,
Right.
looking into it, I was looking into like Luke Bryan, like the Whiskey Myers. Like, man, I think Whiskey Myers been doing it for. I was watching something on there, and I'm like, man, it's been like, I think it was 10 years where they ever, maybe sold out a show or did something like this and that. But they were like, man, it was worth every second. And that's one thing I'd tell myself, like, just stay patient, be the main thing.
Right, right. So, I mean, most people, if they want to find you, they can find you on social media,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
A website in the works right now.
Right now I'm just kind of going off of um, like the link tree kind of stuff. I had a website going on, but it wasn't, because everybody was going off of Facebook and Instagram more than they were going to the website. So I was like, well,
Mhm.
let's just cut the website for now and stick to the Facebooks and stick to the Instagrams and stuff like that. And because I sold merch, I was selling merch on my website, and we're actually going back to. I'm gonna do we're like working on a merch website off of like
Okay,
Square, and gonna launch that here soon. So
okay,
so it's
all
just
right,
right now. It's all social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, the Facebook, all that stuff.
right, right. Well, I tell you what, man. Like I said, keep me posted on the merch because I most
Oh yeah,
definitely, and I want to see some of those T-shirts because you got a whole plethora of stuff that
yeah,
you could throw out there that people
yes,
would
sir.
love. You
Yeah,
know,
we got a large merchandise selection coming into the store, and what we bring bring the shows, and um, so I'll send you a care package or something. So
that sounds great, man. I tell you
yes,
what,
sir.
Dalton, man, it has been a blast hanging out with you and talking to you and
You as
getting to
well.
know you. I mean,
Yes,
now I know
sir.
the guy behind the music, and that's always something that I love to do. I hope all of the people that have been watching tonight have enjoyed it, and it seems like they have. We've had a lot
Yes,
of
sir.
comments and a lot of folks tuning in, and so we appreciate that as well. And you putting
Awesome.
it out on your social media and stuff.
Yes,
And
sir.
So if you want to listen to more of Dalton, he's on Spotify. He's got a Spotify page with the songs on there. Go give that a listen, and then check him out on his Instagram and his Facebook and all that stuff. And just throw him a hey, what are you doing?
Yeah, throw a comment, because I'll message back. So
yeah.
every time.
I mean, that's one of the things I love about the artists that are up and coming, because they will take the time to message you back, and I love that. I mean, that's how you connect with your fans. Is that right there?
100%. Yes, sir. 100%.
So as we close out tonight, I'm going to give you a little taste of another one of Dalton's songs that we've been talking about tonight. So I'll be back. I'm taking Monday night off for the 4th of July, and then we'll be back hopefully Thursday night. We'll have another guest. I haven't got a confirmation on that yet, but I'm trying. I'm actually trying to get Justin on, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
I think I messaged him, and I got to go back and check it out and see if he'll,
I
if
just sent him a message, time to get on here, man. So I just talked to him
he's
like a couple nights ago. So
yeah, he's man. I'm loving his stuff too. So I'd love to get him on.
Big things, man.
We're gonna leave you here with a little bit of this one.
All right.
This has got to be my favorite T-shirt. Dive Bar certified.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So. Again, you guys have a great night. Enjoy some more Dalton as we close things out, and we'll see you again. Dalton, thanks for coming on, buddy. We'll talk to you off camera here in just a minute. All right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All righty.
All righty. Chasing whitetails in my blue jean jacket with a can of Copenhagen, feeding my nicotine habit. Well, I drink, sing, and cuss. Yeah, I can't get enough of seeing that sun come up after howling at the moon. I don't buy all my strings from a guy in Indonesia, but I drink cheap whiskey and eat $5 pizza. I've got some rowdy ass friends that make more money than I do, and when we all get together, there ain't no bar we can't burn through. Hell, we drink, sing, and cuss. Well, we can't get enough of seeing that sun come up after howling at the moon.